Hi there, I'm Katy Rose and welcome to the Rooted Reinvention, a podcast exploring the real-world journey of reinventing who we are without burning out or burning our whole life down. I teach people how to make lasting change by melding my Masters of Neuroscience and my Cognitive Therapy qualification with common self-help tools, spiritual concepts, and my personal experience. Because being yourself doesn't need to feel so damn hard. To get more information on podcast episodes, please visit rootedreinvention.com/podcast. Part of me wants to say I can't believe it's July, and the other part of me completely believes it's July because it's been a very long couple of months. In today's episode, I wanted to talk briefly about some things that we can do that are within our power when we're feeling on edge. And there are two things that have kind of sparked this particular topic this week. One is that in my day job, I've been working with someone who believes that they have no control over their own actions. And we've been talking through something called locus of control, which I will link to in the show notes. But this is that idea that can we control some things? Not everything. Some things are within our control and some things are not. And if we have an internal locus of control, it means that we have some self-belief in our ability to problem solve, to work something out, to make something work, to find a solution. Whereas external locus of control is where you believe the control lies outside of yourself. Someone else will do this to you or around you or despite you. And obviously there are some things that are not within one individual's control, but this is more about the mindset behind it. So if you are someone who feels like you are not in control of a lot of things in your life, even if those things are things you do, then this might be a helpful episode for you, just to start thinking about, well, which things are? Just something that's been on my mind a lot lately. And the second sort of part of this and reason that I'm talking about this today is that one of my clients came to me and asked, basically, what do you do to alleviate stress when you've had a difficult day, and that you're kind of feeling on edge and you know that this is only going to get worse unless you do something about it. If it's one of those things where you know this is just going to either ruminate or it's just going to, you're going to go to sleep and grind your teeth. I know that's one of my stress responses. And so we spoke briefly about the 4 things that I recommend. And I figured that was probably a good thing to talk about this week. So if you are feeling out of control, on edge, if you need something that almost is a physical response to stuff that's going on for your life rather than the cognitive side, I suppose, of the sort of cognitive behavioural therapy things I often talk about, then stay tuned. So I have 4 answers in no particular order, because I would recommend doing something in each. Again, I will post a little thing of these in the show notes. The first sort of quick fix, and I'm using air quotes for the word quick fix, by the way, but the first quick fix is to move/shake. And this comes from the fact that when we are stressed, there are chemicals released in our body, cortisol, endorphins, and there is a fight or flight response that kicks in. And what this does is it sends energy to our muscles so that we can fight or run, so that we can move. And then when we don't move, because the actual stress is a PowerPoint presentation in front of your boss, then you end up with that kind of sitting in your muscles. I don't know the exact science, I will say. I'm not a biologist. But it can leave you feeling very restless, very on edge. And it might be that something happened and you just got startled by a noise outside and then you've settled down, but actually there's still that sensation in your body. And if you've ever watched a mammal, not quite sure about fish and lizards, but maybe, but if you've ever watched a mammal, I believe birds do it as well, where there's some kind of stressful situation or panic or play fight, when the danger has gone, they shake. And this is almost an innate way of doing this, of moving that energy, that their endorphins have kicked in, and the endorphins have tensed up all the muscles ready to do this thing, and actually something in that animal has told it, and now we need to shake or move and get this out. So if you are feeling on edge, move, shake, wiggle. I don't really care what it is. Sway, we'll take anything. Some form of movement to get that kind of sensation out on a physical level. Now, this might be that you do a bit of yoga, it might be that you punch a pillow a few times. I quite like doing press-ups because I can, and I don't need anything for them. That's something that I find quite useful for me. Or dancing. Dancing is one of those things. Putting on a angry song or a happy song. I tend not to use the slow or sad songs. I don't feel those really meet that need of movement to the level that's going to get that out of your system, but whatever works for you. So any form of movement, dance, shaking is going to help in some level, and I believe the more kind of active that is, the quicker you'll feel results from that, and that sensation will reduce. Second one is to ground in the moment. So again, there are multiple ways of doing this. This might be lighting some incense, smelling the herb pot by your kitchen counter. Like, it sounds weird, but it can really help just kind of take you out of whatever the stimulus and the trigger has been and put you somewhere else for a minute. Drinking a glass of water, so even taking slow sips, or eating one of the throat lozenges or something that's got a very strong sensation to it. Anything that will ground you in the current moment compared to what you've been through in this day or this challenging time. The other thing that I find when I'm grounding is actually to pull my shoulders down, like not necessarily with my hands, although that can work. But if I literally sit and just forcibly lower my shoulders as if I'm pulling them down to stretch my neck or something, and then let go, I notice how much lower even when I relax, they don't go up as high as they were, because I hold a lot of tension and stress in my neck and shoulders. And again, it's one of those subconscious things that our posture tells our brain. If we're sitting in a very tense position, then it kind of puts our brain on high alert, because there must be something out there that's made us tense that we need to be alert for. And if we physically relax our body, it does actually send some form of biofeedback to our brain to say, we're safe, you can relax, you can stop sending out those like threat signals now. And if it is helpful, then there are thought actions that you can do as well around now is not then. So 5 ways that this very moment is different from the time that I was stressed. Well, I wasn't wearing this top. Well, I hadn't had a cup of tea. I wasn't sat in this room. I wasn't feeling hungry at the time, and my cat wasn't with me. It can be the most mundane things, but anything to ground you in this moment that separates now from when the stressful event happened. The third one is your environment. So again, can you do anything to alter your environment? Can you open a window and look out of it and breathe in that cooler air for a moment? Can you turn a light on? Can you move into a different room just so that the environment is changed slightly? Can you light some incense or a candle or put some essential oils on? Can you change the sounds around you by putting music on or headphones or something? Maybe that dance music track, make us feel that little bit better. Watching funny videos of penguins falling over, which I will link in the show notes, my favourite one of those. And the fourth one is to breathe out more than you breathe in. So there is some technical science to this again, but the essential gist that I'd like you to get is that when we breathe in oxygen. When we breathe out carbon dioxide. It's the opposite of trees. And when we are anxious or tense or stressed, we tend to breathe faster and we tend to breathe in more than we breathe out. So if you actually look at someone who's panicking, who's hyperventilating, if you watch your own breathing and count how many seconds you're breathing in and out for, we often breathe in more than we breathe out. And there's a load of complicated science as far as I can tell, but essentially when you have this imbalance of carbon dioxide and oxygen, I believe it messes with the pH of your blood, so how acidic or alkaline, but don't quote me on that. Essentially, it messes with stuff in your body on a biological level. And therefore, if you're feeling on edge, if you're feeling panicked, if you're feeling stressed, breathing out more than you breathe in to reset that balance can be really helpful. So I personally like doing sort of 1 extra second of exhale to however many inhale. So breathe in, counting to 3, and breathe out, counting to 4. And there's box breathing, where you have a gap in between, where you hold the breath in between. There's triangle breathing, where you only hold the breath before or after. Again, I can put some resources in the show notes, but essentially if you are breathing out more than you breathe in, even for 60 seconds, that actually does help tell your brain that we're in a safe place, we're able to exhale, this is not a space, you don't need to panic. It kind of stops that release of endorphins and cortisol and kind of calms your body down on a physiological level. So these 4 things, which again, quotation mark, hand movement, quick fixes, they will not completely turn your stressful day into a calmest day you've ever had. However, if you are in that moment of feeling that you don't know what you can do and you feel on edge and you don't know how to process it, these 4 things can be done in a few minutes and can be adapted to wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Take that time. That will all send what's called biofeedback. So it will send feedback from the body, the biology, to the mind, so that it will then stop whatever's going on in your brain that caused that fight or flight to kick in. As I say, these 4 things: to move, to ground yourself, to consider your environment, and to breathe out more than you breathe in, all can help us when we're feeling completely on edge, and we just need a quick fix to lower that level a bit. And these 4 things are all rooted in some level of science from human psychology, and therefore I would at least expect that half of the time one of these would work for you, depending on the situation. Nothing's 100%, otherwise, if any of us knew the answers to that, we'd all be millionaires, and none of us would ever have problems. But I aim for anything that's going to help 50% of the time, means you're 50% better off than you were before you heard about it. So again, as always, thank you so much for listening. All of the things I mentioned, including a little summary, will be in the show notes, which will be at rootedreinvention/podcast. And I will speak to you again next week. Bye. Thanks for listening, and as always, you can find out more at rootedreinvention.com. Take care, remember you are more capable than you often realise, and I'll see you next time. Bye.